For all. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the December 3rd meeting of the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council Formation Group. Basically, I want to start off by acknowledging that I appreciate everybody and the work that you guys are doing individually to help move food sovereignty forward in the community. And we are doing good things on our own, and we've come together because we know we can do more things and better things together, like achieve the 80% in-state production, which is our goal. So essentially, this group was formed to discuss how we do that, and I just wanted to remind everybody why we meet weekly is because while we all have concerns about food sovereignty and food security for our friends and neighbors and loved ones, we have an ability to do something about it. And that creates a responsibility for us to make an effort. And so I appreciate you guys making that effort. Part of the reason for stating that is because the next step is to figure out who else we want to be inviting to these weekly calls, how we round out the this council and who's officially on it and who's not. I didn't really have a chance to prepare a focused agenda for this afternoon, but we have, is there anything that you guys feel we need to discuss today besides the MOU? I'll get to that.
Well, I just wanted to kind of clarify again a little more on exactly, because I was under the impression that I was in this meeting as a representative of the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council, and so I feel like this is more of a collaboration group for different organizations. If we're talking about forming the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council and using that organization as the main body, then I don't know. I'm confused by that, because that's not my understanding.
I see where she's going with that.
Wish to elaborate on that, Crystal?
Well, she's just saying that the Alaska Farm and Food is its own thing, and then like our group right now, I've discussed getting on the board with Alaska Food Sovereignty, and all that, but like in the meantime, it's really just like a collaboration of minds, and it's not really like an official Alaska Farm and Food thing or an official Alaska sovereignty thing, because that's a separate entity. So
right. Well, you Robert, you've approached the group as a representative of ARC, and Joe represents his company, and I represent the Food Sovereignty Council, and Crystal now represents that as well, and I also represent my company, Alaska Farm and Food. So when I started these meetings, I was under the impression that we were forming a collaborative group for those organizations to work together, not that we were having meetings for the Food Sovereignty Council.
I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. Like we're all working towards the same goal. Like we want Alaska to grow its own food. So the whole point of these meetings is that we kind of brainstorm what our organizations bring to the table. We'll present what our organizations bring to the table and brainstorm how to use that to communicate to other Alaskans that it's possible to grow our own food.
Right.
Right. Which, yeah, that makes sense. I understand that.
Sovereignty. But yeah, I get it. I get both of your, yeah.
So
I understand that, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I keep talking over you guys. There's a delay. I'm just saying that I wasn't under the impression that these meetings were focused on forming Alaska Food Sovereignty Council. I was under the impression that I was joining these meetings as the representative for the council to collaborate with your organizations and businesses. So like if this group is to form the council for Alaska Food Sovereignty Council, then I'm confused why we're discussing an MOU with ARC.
Okay.
And
Okay. I think I see where I can see where you're going with this. And yes, as far as to clarify this organic process, we all have our own business interest. We all have our own personal interest. The MOU is to help us fundraise. And as we've discussed, that fundraising is focused on education. So I'm not trying to. So yeah, I don't think this isn't the Alaska Food Council informing. This is ARC engaging in the Alaska Food Council, Alaska Food Sovereignty Council. And I guess the question is that is the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council comfortable with the existing number of board members? Are we expanding it? Is that the next step for how we get organized and move forward, so that we can focus on our fundraising efforts and using that to build our platform?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking to grow the organization, and I'm ready to start working towards putting out material and everything. I just I'm just wondering, like, because a lot of what we're doing here, if we're doing these meetings on behalf of Alaska Food Sovereignty Council, I'm confused why we need a MOU with ARC, because everything we're discussing can be done under Alaska Food Sovereignty Council. If you guys want to join the board and we focus on that. Otherwise, perhaps we should call this the Food Sovereignty Coalition, and then have an MOU and non-disclosures between the different organizations to work towards specific goals. Because I think that needs more to be defined more. Like I said before in our meetings, that we have a lot of crisscrossing going on between the missions of our nonprofits and the missions of Joe and I's business corporations and organizations.
I like that idea. Just make it a separate name thing that includes all of us.
Well, right now that's the focus of the MOU, is to separate these discussions with Alaska Farm and Food and VAST as business discussions, and focusing on the education part of it and raising awareness why we need more businesses like Alaska Farm and Food, Crystal Basil, and VAST, and other companies like that. That was the whole point of the MOU, is for ARC to have an MOU with the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council, where we can help fundraise and train people to be in this industry, along with our interest in training and getting people into related industries of local living economies. So the purpose of the MOU is simply to be able to define our ability to fundraise and be able to utilize ARC's 501c3 to be able to fundraise on multiple forms, rather than just directly with what we can do as with what Alaska's Food Sovereignty Council can do as a state agency. So that's the whole point of the MOU. That's also why the language regarding intellectual properties wasn't very much expanded on, because that after several discussions, it was decided that whole aspect of business and economics and investments is far too complicated to convolute in the simple discussion about education and job training. So the point of the MOU is to be able to just focus to outline the agreement between these two organizations, ARC and the Alaska Food Policy Council, and basically discuss how we can collaboratively provide education and job training. I'm not saying that I don't want to have those other conversations, those are not important, but for the scope of simplicity and function, I think that we can lay this foundation first, and then we can go and have this discussion of economics and business development in another meeting.
So I guess that maybe I'm not being clear on my distinction, because I get that. I'm just, from my perspective, fundraising and things like that, if we're looking at this from the council's point of view, we don't necessarily need to partner with ARC to do that. We could just have you join the board and do that as a group. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if that's not what we're looking at, then perhaps we should call this the Food Sovereignty Council Coalition, like a committee, and have a representative from each of these organizations. And then we could bring on Charles from the Food Policy Council and Mel from the Interior, and they'd be representatives on our coalition, but our organizations remain separate. Because I guess that's where I'm getting confused when you talk about bringing people on. I'm wondering if you're trying to bring them onto the Food Sovereignty Council's board, or if you're trying to bring them into this coalition that we're collaborating through, if that makes sense.
Well, I don't plan on being at every one of these meetings or continuing to host them. I'm working to bring Crystal up to speed so that she can do this on our behalf, and we can provide her with the resources as needed to advance the goals of the objective of the council. I've got way too many other things that are need my specific attention that are related to what we're doing here, specifically around financing and policy. And this is not an area where I have a whole bunch of expertise, other than the fact that I understand the importance of food and the basics of food in a functional civilization. And so I'm just trying to get all of this set up so we can properly do some fundraising. We have a lot of ways to fundraise. Some of it requires a 501c3, especially when we want to build these relationships with local businesses. That's what they want, and it just facilitates a lot more opportunities to fundraise than without it. And I think that's the function and form of what we're trying to get to with the MOU, and then keeping it separate from the economic development of capital and projects and stuff like that. Does that help?
Right, but you keep talking about our goal being the 80% in 10 years, and my company's original goal was 60% in 10 years. So that's where I feel like it's getting muddled on that. And so perhaps we should discuss making this a committee in each of the organizations and come up with some kind of a committee coalition agreement like that. If that makes sense. I'm sorry, I'm struggling for words tonight.
Joe, do you want to chime in?
Who, me?
Joe.
Well, I'm just listening, and again, I can understand where Jack is coming from with the coalition versus council ideations, but I could see where the leaders of businesses that are beginning and already are already going, that are and maybe even some farmers, as a council, we're deciding, we are the final deciding factor on how the Food Sovereignty Council goes forward, right? So if we're the council, it needs to be a limited number, but we need members. I think we're talking about members is what it's coming off as. And the difference in goals, like 60% in 10 years and 80% in 10 years, either way, the goals are aligned. So you focus on your company's goals, while we don't have to sit here and worry about the 80% in 10 years, because we are all working to provide food in our own different ways. So anytime we grow food, we already up that percentage. So the differences in goals, I don't think isn't really a big deal personally, and I don't want that to come off as rude or anything. And I'm not trying to.
No, and I wasn't trying to say that the difference in goals is a problem. But Robert keeps bringing up that as part of our goals for these meetings. So if that's the part of the goals for these meetings, then Alaska Farm and Food should be in on those discussions, because that was my original plan, and that's what I had originally contacted or commented on your post in the Alaskan Agriculture Group, Joe, about contacting you and collaborating on. So that's I guess where I'm getting at there. I guess if I'm not opposed to if Joe wants to join the board, and then the three of us, Crystal, Joe, and I, do the MOU with ARC, and then you or Dawn be the representative from ARC and work together that way. I could see that as a way to move forward.
Well, right now, the only signature lines on the MOU are for Crystal, you, and Dawn. So I guess I do understand where you're coming from, and I guess I do have to apologize if I overstep my boundaries in trying to help what I perceive maybe as fleshing out or getting more people on the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council board. Maybe that's what's
not at all. I appreciate the suggestions because I have been looking to grow the board and get more active members. I just want to be clear about how we're structuring our collaboration to make sure that everyone is represented and that things aren't getting kind of, hairs crossed and muddy.
Well, and that's exactly the point of the MOU, is so that we have a clear in writing understanding of how we structure our collaboration. If you feel more comfortable with having the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council represented as a separate entity within a Alaska Food Sovereignty committee, that works too. But I'm also comfortable with just working with the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council and supporting that fiscally with the 501c3, and then using that to be able to go after grants to support beginnings of education and job training. And as far as the discussions with VAST and the Alaska Farm and Food, happy to have those conversations under MOU at a different time. They're just as important. I'm just trying to separate so we can get stuff done.
May I interject?
Go ahead, Joe.
Crystal, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So the reality is we need to really come down to what we're meeting for. So if we're gonna have more members, we should really have business owners who are growing food come in. We should have not the Food Sovereignty Council shouldn't have goals that measure these participants who are a part of the group who are here to grow food for Alaska. But what it should be is that we discuss our own personal goals. So we come together and we go, okay, so this is my goal for this year or these next few months. This is how I plan to do it. Does anybody here see any type of gaps that would help improve it? And how can I help improve maybe your farming? Stuff like that. Because that sounds more what we need to be doing to help grow food, because we all have our own different methods. We all got our own ways and our own connections.
We need to
Okay, go ahead, Crystal.
we need to link up with the Division of Ag. There's a whole group of people. They're older people. They don't have enough young blood. They're the Division of Ag. They've got meetings, and we should at least have one representative from that group join us.
For
I
me,
agree.
Go ahead, Jerica.
So I was gonna, since Crystal and I are the board members for the Food Sovereignty Council, if she's agrees, then I'm happy to formally invite Joe to join the board of the Food Sovereignty Council, if you'd like to do that. And then we can move forward with the MOU with ARC, and then the three of us can get together and discuss how we can bring in farmers and other agribusiness owners in the industry to collaborate.
Yeah.
Okay, so I appreciate everybody's energizing. I'll try to make sure I get a good round robin so everybody gets to talk. So Joe, do you want to go next?
Well, I'm still listening, so go ahead.
Okay, so Crystal, do you have a comment?
I was gonna say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. If Joe is in agreement with that, it would actually simplify these meetings a bit better. Like if we could just say, okay, Joe, you're part of the board too. And then basically Robert is sort of a somebody we're consulting with and working with toward sort of as a consultant, an advisor, something like that. And then what was the other thing? Yeah. Oh, as far as the Division of Ag, we just need to reach out to them, and I can do that. We can reach out and say, and explain, who we are. We're just three people, okay, working towards this goal, but everybody else, all the other farmers are working towards this goal too. So there's no reason why we shouldn't do that.
Okay, so from our perspective on this, one of the reasons that I've been trying to figure out how we can work together, because how we work together is just basically how we agree to work together, is because I know that Jarek has been doing a lot of work, been doing a lot of research, has a lot of these contacts, and not only do we not have time, we don't have an interest in really replicating any of that. The discussion of the businesses, the farming businesses, Alaska Farm and Food and Vast, I completely understand the whole Chamber of Commerce for agriculture. But right now, I've been trying to focus on the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council's education focus, because that was the first thing we discussed, was what's our main goal for us. And then basically from that 80% agreement, we started figuring out, well, how do we organize to be able to effectively meet that goal? I definitely think the businesses are important, but the challenge that we faced, and from what I understand in the past with organizing businesses, is the competitive nature of the market. And so that for that discussion to honestly happen, where there's true collaboration, requires more legal documentation than would be required for just a group of people that are representing different nonprofits to be able to get together to focus on education and job training. Go, Joe.
So the best way we can focus on education is doing it through action. Education through action. If we have to highlight businesses and farmers that are doing the growth and doing the growing, and then try and link these farmers to people who can help them on their farms or provide them the work that they need to get people even more involved with the food that's grown around here. Especially with the organization stuff, because there's 3 vertical farms in town. One of them's a nonprofit. One of them's down the street from me, but he seems more like direct to customer base. And I tried talking to him about my ideas, and he's like, well, that's impossible. I told you about that. But anyways, education through action. We got to do and prove what we say, to show and teach what we say.
Absolutely, I agree. For the sake of these meetings and our collaboration here, I think the best option, if you're willing, Joe, is for you to join the board, and we can classify these as official Alaska Food Sovereignty Council meetings to work towards education and collaboration with ARC.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board with joining the board.
Okay, that's fine with item.
There's more. Good.
Yay! Progress.
Yes.
Well, we want to be able to share with other people our experiences, so they can do it in their communities too. The other thing that I want to bring up that I've noticed repeatedly is that there's a constant conversation about engaging other farmers in the farm community. This is good, but I think that we should also be including the chefs and the grocery stores and nutritionists and other demographics that aren't directly related involved in the food industry, so we can get their perspectives on how to build a cohesive food industry. I think having what I like about the Jamie Oliver food revolution and stuff is it's not in the garden. It's all in the kitchen. It's all what's on the shelf. It's what's available. It's the whole Rachel Ray thing, and I think those types of things really engage a lot broader audience. So, Joe.
Yeah.
The localization effort and with the talking to farmers, the best thing we can do is somehow teach farmers how to improve their crops. Like we were talking about in a previous meeting, farmers want to do their own thing mostly. And so we can communicate with them, maybe get some pointers and tips, but it really depends on a person-to-person basis for each farmer we talk to. So we got to have a different plan for each one. It's like, of course, some like, well, no, I don't want to get involved, and that's fine. Sorry, now I kind of lost tangent. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just kind of listening with you.
Well, we can offer these farmers labor, trainees, apprentices. That's kind of how we got started in this with Crystal, is that she's doing some training and working through hours.
I'm doing community service, guys. I'm doing community service. I wouldn't call it training. I'd call it community service.
I call it training to keep from I generally I call it training to keep from recidivism, to lower the recidivism rates. So the idea is that if we give people positive things to focus their future on, they're less likely to fall back into old habits. Trying to be very respectful of everybody's journey. And the idea is that, like I said, while there may be definite need for training to, how farmers can get the things they need to do too, there's also huge amounts of engagement we can have with barbecue, cook-offs, eat-off, local food festival competitions and stuff like that. Like I said, ways to engage the larger community. One of the reasons that I advocated that one of the events that we should be focusing on collaborating on is Juneteenth, is really because that's all about food. And right now, the food that's being presented at those events is less than organic, and kind of is counterintuitive to the longevity of the community, which is part of the reason that we're trying to address these issues and make them so public. I mean, there's still so few people out there, and the farmers know this. We go to the farmers and talk to them about that we have 95% imports. They're going to say, and what? There's people out there that honestly that have no idea about this. And we have to find, and the reason that I feel our angle right now and our opportunity is to engage people outside of the agricultural industry in the importance of having a strong agricultural industry. That's my angle on that. Is your hand still in my question, Joe, or did you? Okay, Jerica, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
I just wanted to say I agree with that. Reaching the consumer is a big part of the movement, and it's really why the Food Sovereignty Council was formed, for education purposes, because a lot of consumers just don't realize how dependent we are and how profitable the agricultural community can be. Like I said before, how it can affect so many other industries and really boost our economy. So that's kind of, that is what we are all about. And I think that reaching the consumer should be one of our top priorities.
Okay. Well, I'll work on, go ahead, Crystal.
Just as an idea, okay, so we can, all right, so I'm one of the admins of the Alaska Farmers page. I could say put something on there to steer people towards Alaska food sovereignty. But what is our goal in doing so? And I mean, we can do this. I mean, we can collaborate with a lot of different people. We can collaborate with the high school teacher at Colony High that does the gardening stuff. There's Future Farmers of America. There's 4-H. I mean, yeah, there's all these possibilities for education. But I mean, so could any farmer, I suppose, but maybe this might be an easier way to develop these resources for farmers to take advantage of. I'm not sure, but we have the ability to reach out to people. It's right there. It's just a matter of.
Well, okay, I got an idea. So when we think about reaching people, how do we look at people running campaigns or even products sold to us? We run commercials. We can just run virtual infographics that are like, hey, in your local space, like you could run it up too. You could just kind of write up a thing, little script, film it, and have like these infographics. Like, okay, so we'll look up your region and go just to see 3 simple steps and ask yourself, how much of my food is grown in my neighborhood or in my area or locally? How much is it sold at my stores? Because, and you could do something.
Put in an interactive map.
Well, okay, so ads, you could do it in like try to do a 6-second ad, because a lot of times people want to skip those ads on YouTube. It's very crazy, but if you're on YouTube, or if you're running on Facebook, or if you're running on anything, because people don't want ads, and now
Yeah,
there's
I
been
don't watch
skippable.
videos at all. I will never watch a video. I will read, but I won't watch videos.
And there are
Yeah.
other people that won't read but will watch videos. And ARC actually has a relationship with GCI. We can get these kind of PSAs onto the cable access channels. We just need to come up with the content and actually put together a 30-second ad. And I have software on the computer to do that now.
You
But,
could do it in you could ask one question. I got it right here. It says, "Where's your food grown?" ? And that's it. And you could run it on like the internet, on the radio, and then message from Food Sovereignty Council, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
that's the key, is that this question, or brought to you by the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council. And you hit the nail on the head earlier when you're talking about show by example, is that where your businesses, they want, they need tens of thousands of dollars. We can raise $150, $300 to do grassroots campaigns where we help people do where we help people start community gardens, or we build raised beds out of recycled materials and we sell those at an auction, or we do seed sales, so basically what I see is the Food Council's initiative is the fact that we take the initiative, that we hold these conferences, that these are not these conferences, but that we hold these concerts, these awareness and engagement campaigns to get people directly involved in food at every level. We start, get people, people engaged in linking bottles together and then selling bottle garden kits from their homes. There's a lot of direct actions that we can do to supplement and support farmers, and at the same time use those to raise money so we can educate more people about why we need a strong food sovereignty movement. And that's where I really where I would like to get to. Sorry, I've been on a lot of meetings today. And basically focus on that, be the change kind of thing.
yeah.
Joe, I really like your idea. I thought that was great. I like your idea of just like a 6-second, where does your food come from? Sponsored by the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council. The
It's
end.
just like that.
That's a
And that's
start.
how
I
they-
think
that's
that's
how they
great.
work.
Yeah.
That's advertising. I do advertising sometimes for my job. So I do Facebook posts there, and Gold Rush Liquor. That's where I work right now.
Yeah.
And right now, and I can tell you right now, if so that's how we can get the general public. And also, I like to do signing. Like I stand out there with some signs. Not like I didn't join any protests. I have got my own things to say. That's the difference. But I can sit out there. You could just ask that too with a sign. Where's your food grown? People start thinking about it. Just something like that, because it's a physical meme. You got to think about talking to people in physical meme ways now, because people use their phones to look through at everything. It's a different.
Yeah.
It's an interesting medium now, because advertising is just getting into people's brain. But with farmers, I can tell you now, if I explain to you what my method is, what my methodology through VAST is intentions, farmers I could probably offer to help them make a profit simply by selling mostly in their local space and working with each other, because they want to work with their land, they want to do it their way, and that's cool. But eventually, if I can start get my proof of concept, then I can
Right.
start funding farmers. That's the goal. The goal is to throw back into farmers and work with farmers, throw back into the community for other businesses, because once you start growing food in your communities, you open up the possibility for people to open up their own restaurants, because you create more jobs, and it creates an insulated economy.
Right. I think that's
Absolutely.
like yeah, that's kind of almost similar direction to the co-op idea,
Okay, Jerica, would you like to chime in?
I don't really have anything to add to that. I think that's great. I really love the idea of the quick ad, and I think that we have a good focus. I think maybe for homework, we should maybe each of us can jot down a few things that we think should be goals for the education, and maybe start taking notes on our ideas for fundraising events or campaigns to get more awareness about what we're doing. Otherwise, I don't really have much more to add. right now.
Right now, I'm looking at Vistaprint and looking at calendars that start at $12.99. And what tells me is that we can do a small fundraiser with just a link and raise a couple $100 to do some pre-orders at $20 a piece on some Alaska food sovereignty calendars, 2021 calendars. Maybe I wouldn't do 2021, 2022. But all we basically need is 12 pictures of farms around the state or farm products or anything like that that we can use to advocate. And then in each one of those photos, we can ask a question or we can make a statement or something like that. We can create those as JPEGs, send them over to Vistaprint, and within a couple of weeks, we can start selling calendars. It would have been great to be able to start doing this a month ago, because right now we're just buying stuff for Christmas. But we can still do it if we want. And I think that would be a good fundraiser. And then the other thing that we're working on in other areas is Earth Day, planning out a state coordinated Earth Day event for April 19th through the 22nd. And I think that would be a really great time to reinvestigate our concepts of our food concert. That would be a good time to start planning. We were looking at actually having a really nice festival or something around on the 21st of solstice. So that would give us plenty of time to plan an in-person concert that we could do simultaneously, or
what about a virtual concert?
We can do both.
Yeah.
But I'm saying doing something for April rather than trying to push something for the 21st like we were talking about last time.
Oh, yeah. No, unfortunately, solstice isn't gonna work. It was overly optimistic.
No, it's great. It's necessary for us to be able to have this kind of optimism and focus on looking at what we can do. It's a good idea, and it just allows us to focus on, well, what kind of things do we want to happen. We can make a concert happen on the 21st. It's just not going to be a very good concert.
Yeah.
So we want to focus on, so we want to have if we want to grab some spoons and a washboard, then I can coordinate a Zoom call. So if we want people with real talent, and we want to be able to use the opportunity to engage the state community, then we should probably plan for something around solstice and Earth Day. How's that sound for you, Jerica?
I think that sounds great, and I love the calendar idea. I already have some photos. I got a really nice camera this past fall, and I took some photos of the amazing Port Allsworth Garden. It's been active for over 40 years. So I have some photos I could throw out that. Nice. Also, I think your idea was wonderful, Crystal, for the solstice, because if we plan something for the farmers to really get them motivated in their planning and stuff like that, because that is when farmers start looking at the new year and what they're going to do in the spring. And even though this year the time has kind of gotten away from us and it's probably not going to be possible, I think we should make that a goal for next December.
Yeah, awesome.
I think having quarterly events is a good thing to plan going forward. I don't think that we should completely exclude that we can have any kind of a presence or make any kind of appeal on the 21st. The Green Party of Alaska on last Earth Day, with 3 days notice and zero budget, managed to pull off a nationally and internationally viewed POTUS debates that got over 5,000 views in a week. So we can do something. It's just to do the concert and stuff right. I think that we can do a better job of it if we postpone it, but it's still possible we could do something smaller online, because a Zoom call is all it is. And we could do it as a webinar, as a way to kind of introduce people. Actually, that brings up the one thing I did want to try to do, we've talked about before, was Jerica and Crystal working together on a State of the Union address for food sovereignty in Alaska. A presentation on where we're at, where we want to go, and how we're going to get there. Just kind of outlining some general thoughts and trying to stimulate further conversation. Is that something that you'll be interested in doing?
That would be a really good idea to link up to the "Where's Your Food Grown" thing. So like we've got that little tiny clip ad thing that Joe is proposing. And then when people click on that, it goes further into a state of Alaska, a state of food in Alaska. What did you call it? You said a state of the union.
No,
Oh, state of the food union or something like that. And we could ask those questions, and at the bottom we just have the dates, 12/21/21. So what's going on that date. So
Yeah, and I really liked that too. That was kind of genius. The state of the food address.
Yeah,
that's great.
well, we can start advertising it immediately. And then you guys can start working on a half-hour presentation. If you guys can collaborate on a PowerPoint.
You know what? I don't mean it would end up being like a description of how we can easily grow food within every community just based on a few certain factors. And that's my business presentation. I'm not playing, dude. That's how it goes, because it's just it's simple, it's easy. I don't understand. We got to stop relying on one large location growing all the food, when we can teach people that you can literally grow your community's food right here, and you could create an entire economy based on it just by locations alone. And I have certain factors that are based upon location, and it's the education part's going to be very easy when it comes down to using the proper advertising methods to kind of get people to think. Because we sit here, we take advertising for granted, even though it really is just hacking our brain to want that crap. But we need to start making people think more in a certain way that's similar to that, because it's just, people are attuned to listening to medias that give them useless information. So it's time to start giving people useful information in a proper way.
Yeah, and that's just getting our name out there and getting people aware that we have that information for them. And that's where the calendars come in. That's where these events come in. We can be doing seed sales. We can be doing harvest festivals. And there's a whole bunch of stuff we can do. But to get started, we'll finish working on the MOU, try to get that signed so we can move that forward next meeting. Joe, would you mind taking your hand down unless you have a question? I don't want to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I could put it down, put it up once. My apologies.
It's okay.
I'm still used to it.
But it's all good. It's good. It's all good. I just want to be able to get us in a position where we can start raising money, raising awareness, and drawing more people in, because there are a lot of good people in this town that would love to be involved in something. They just don't want to take over or be involved in trying to start it all. They might be willing to come into a community garden and plant a box, but they're not going to come and plan the community garden, if it makes any sense. So I see us as kind of the people that have the knowledge and are willing to start planting the community garden, so we can invite people in to plant their own raised beds. And Crystal, what's up?
Sorry, I can't find the raised hand button thing, so I just raised my hand. We need to start a YouTube channel in order to run all this stuff through. I mean, if we're going to be making a state of the food address, we need a YouTube channel. We need to start one for Alaska Food Sovereignty. We could also put the Joe's 6-second clip on there. We can link all this stuff up. If we're doing any kind of virtual concerts, that's how we're going to do it, right?
TikTok too.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
YouTube is a good base platform. So what do you got, Jerica?
So I wanted to say that was an excellent idea, Crystal. I haven't thought of starting a food or a YouTube for the Food Sovereignty Council, but I was considering, like, I wanted to try and do like an ag news or ag daily kind of news thing where you can do a Facebook Live or something and update people on what's going on in the food community. Maybe get some farmers to send in a little clip about what they're doing on their farms or something. So that's an idea I've thrown around. I just haven't gotten to the point of materializing it because I am not a camera person, so I'm a little nervous about being the reporter, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Well,
we can do these things audio too. So there's always we can get them on the radio and do. I think I could probably pitch this to the Fairbanks Open Radio as a regular show and start broadcasting it. But one of the things I wanted to point it out is Jerica, we just signed up the Green Party of Alaska for a YouTube channel. And they basically are running an ad right now where you get 3 months of premium YouTube. And that's basically downloading and a bunch of other extra stuff for free. So now might be a good time to go ahead and actually set up a dedicated Alaska Food Sovereignty Council YouTube channel. And then that can be the foundation for all of our videos. In addition, we can continue looking for and linking other videos related to what we're trying to do and share them on that page too, as a way to drive more people to like and subscribe the that page. And then you already have Alaska Food Sovereignty Facebook page, so we can go ahead and continue advertising that, which brings up another point in that one of the things, it's not written in the MOU, but one of the things that I want to do with this collaboration is that, you know, I manage not only a farm security page, Seeds of Change page, March Against Monsanto page, Alaska Foods, you know, Alaska Food Revolution page. I think I've got like 4 or 5 pages that are specifically related to food, and they have between them over 1,000 members. I'm not sure how many are overlapped, but most of them are focused on Alaska, and I would be happy to add you guys as admins to those pages, or merge those pages into the Food Sovereignty Council page, so we only have one page talking about food and people know where to go for it.
See, okay, that's kind of a good idea. That's kind of like the whole we got the council, the admins, and then the members that are part of the group type of thing. So I kind of like that idea from the way that's been presented.
Our only concern would be to make sure that the Food Sovereignty Council board has at least 5 to 7 members on it, so that in case one member gets sick, one member, you know, decides to go off grid for 3 years, you know, the board is not detrimentally impacted in their ability to operate. Because again, the reason that I'm here every week, the reason that I make these meetings every week, is because I know that everyday people are starving and we can do something about it. We can't save everybody, but I'll be damned to let that stop me from saving those we can't.
Okay, so I wrote down while we were talking, I took some notes, and there were some things that Jerica said while I was like getting out I wrote my notes in an email. Jerica, you said some Alaska food sovereignty goals for this week that I didn't get written down, and let me read you what I have so far, and then maybe you could remember what you had told me. So the goals are to sign the MOU for next year, a solstice AFS concert, the calendar idea, perhaps raising funds for that. We had mentioned the 19th to 22nd Earth Day concert, which, by the way, guys, I gotta tell you, like, I'm due to have a baby on April 6th, so I probably won't be hosting that. And then, thanks. And then a 6-second clip, where's your food grown? Thank you. Joe is on board for the board, and we plan on doing a state of food address and possibly a YouTube channel. And is there, Jerica, I missed what you were saying though.
I was just saying if we could all maybe jot down some of our what we think education goals or things that we could do to work towards education goals. Just like, because I know I'm terrible about it too. I'll be doing stuff and thinking and I'll be like, oh, that's such a good idea, and I forget to write it down. So I guess I was kind of trying to tell myself to start making a list. But it'd be great if everyone wanted to. Just
yes. I started making a list when you said that. Yeah. Okay. So educational goals.
Yeah, just to get you know, kind of what we want the goals for education to be and how we can start focusing on the different aspects of education.
Okay. One of the things that I would like to recommend that'll help us get organized is there's a free app called ClickUp. And if Jerica or Crystal creates a specific account for the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council, then basically you can go in there and you can say, this is our to-do list. We can check them at our own time and our own space, you know, and that way we can collaborate when we're not able to actually get together, or when storms block out our communication, or we have babies, we burn our hands, or our, you know, our, we need to go shovel snow, you know, all those things can interrupt things. But if we have that ClickUp gives us the opportunity to hold documents, but also it lists times, like we need to have this done by this certain time, or this is necessary. Like if we want to hold a concert, one of the things we needed to do is 3 weeks earlier or 2 months earlier have locked down a number of artists. So there's Gantt charts. There's a lot of free good tools in there, and I think it'd be really helpful for us to organize. And I suggest that we start using it now while we're really small, so that we can orient people and bring people on effectively. Because I know people are going to get excited about this, want to get involved, and I want to make sure that we are able to handle that kind of growth responsibly.
Yeah, that sounds good. I don't know if you want to take the lead on that, Crystal. I'm happy to do it if you don't have the time.
On the
Setting up a ClickUp, going into ClickUp and setting up an account that's specifically for the Alaska Food Sovereignty Council.
I can do it. I just gotta put it on my list. So I'm just gonna do that right now. ClickUp account.
Yes, so make sure to get on your list the necessity of downloading the list application, or the list app.
List app.
So there's one last thing I would like to address, and that's kind of an organizational thing. In that I know that you're, Jerica, not in Anchorage, and that both Crystal and Joe are, and I'm traditionally, when these things get organized, there's 3 key roles, and that's the chair, the co-chair, and the treasurer. Have you guys had any discussions, or do you have any thoughts on how to formalize that organization since the last 10 minutes of forming the board?
Yeah, so you normally on a nonprofit board, the chair would be the president, and then vice president, secretary, and treasurer. I've also set it up so that we can have regional directors, which I was trying to get Callan to be our Fairbanks regional director, but it sounds like he's kind of backing up because he's not sure about committing to the council at this time. So I'm not sure if Joe wants to be a secretary or a treasurer, but I'm currently president, and Crystal accepted the vice president position. Although I don't necessarily see myself as the greatest meeting chair. So if Crystal wants to take up that position as our meeting chair to orient our meetings, then I'm totally fine with that.
I can totally arrange Zoom calls. That's easy peasy.
Okay. Joe, do you have any thoughts on this?
Just send me what I need to do to be the treasurer and what I need to manage, and I'll do it. Like, straight up. Like, my literal survivability depends on the success of growing food. That's it.
All right. Well, that sounds like a plan to me. The chair's responsibilities really are just making sure the meetings happen, making sure people show up, and that the meetings stay on course. And then, you know, the coordinating with the other members of the board.
I'm taking a bunch of notes this session, and I'll email them to everybody, just as like it's really just notes. And then I'll try to be consistent with our notes every time so that we can stay sort of goal oriented. Yes, good.
These recordings, I can make these recordings available too, so that will help you be able to refresh, because you'll be able to go back if you wish.
Yeah, I probably won't listen to them because like our meetings are an hour long, and I'm not going to listen to the whole hour over again. But so it's easier for me to just do notes and send them to everybody, you know.
Okay. So for future meetings, we pause at the half-hour mark and play music for a few minutes. Is that the consensus?
No, I do like the idea of recording them though. It's good to have a record, regardless.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and if we like, we can, you know, what we've been doing is we've been posting the raw uncut video onto our YouTube page, and I can share this with you guys to put on your YouTube page. But like I said, again, I would encourage you guys to, whoever decides to do it, to go and start up a YouTube channel page now, so you can take advantage of the Cyber Week special and get it 3 months free of premium.
Oh shoot!
Yeah,
we gotta
I'm
pay for
happy
that?
to
Darn it.
do that. Oh
What's
no,
up, Jericho?
no, I'm happy to do that. I can get a YouTube set up for the Sovereignty Council.
Okay. And then I'll be
Yay!
happy
Okay, I'm
to-
marking you down for that.
Yeah, I'll be happy to give Crystal admin access to any groups that she doesn't already have admin access to. Joe and Jerica, do you have an interest in having admin access to these groups, or do you like the idea of a purge?
Heck yeah, I like admin access because I run a fan page of like 25,000, 26,000 people, and then I got my own like group pages of like I make memes and I run like it's a goofy thing, but I have to admin a bunch of people who are rude and delete a bunch of people all the time, so it's something I can do. So I like it's fun in its own way, so I don't mind adminning.
I'll let you on the Green Party page. Anyway, so anything else that we need to discuss this evening? How's everybody?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, so I heard Crystal first. Go ahead.
Basically, I just need I need Joe's email address. Joe, what's your email address?
You'll have it in the hour.
Okay.
Ready?
Just
I
message it.
can
to me.
type it in the group.
Okay, great.
Okay, so Jerica, what were you gonna say?
I don't know if you're talking to me. I was just saying I didn't have anything to add. I think this was a great productive meeting, and I think we finally aligned, and I think we're all on the same page now. So I look forward to moving forward.
Okay, Joe, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I agree with Jerica. Very productive meeting, and 10 stars.
Right. Okay, so we are at 7 o'clock today, and the only thing I want to bring up in the last thought process is if we want to continue having another meeting with just the 5 of us, or if we're ready to ask Charles and Mel and some other people to join us next week. We can discuss that in the chat, just for some food for thought as we leave this evening. Thank you once again for all joining us. Have a good evening, be safe, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you, Robert. I guess
Thanks, everyone.
I'll do the scheduling. I'll do the Zoom thing for next week. I got to start doing it, so I'll do it.
I'll get
Cool.
you dialed into our services so you can do that.
Yeah, we'll have to. All right. Okay.
Okay, have a good night.